Okay. Yep.
So, welcome everyone to the Regional Development System Panel meeting of the 4th of July. My name's Tony Aris and I'm the presiding member. I'll introduce the other panel members. Nima Premji, who's a specialist member. In terms of the Shire of Augusta-Margaret River, Councillor Binks is the representative, and Councillor Earl from the RDAP Secretariat. To have Laura Simmons, Minute Secretary, and Ashley Kelly. We also have a number of applicants and officers from the Shire. So with that, I will formally declare the meeting open at 1:05 and acknowledge the traditional owners and pay respects to elders past and present of the land on which the meeting is being held. The meeting will be run in accordance with RDAP Standing Order 2024. Panel members may refer to technical devices through the meeting to assist them in considering information before them. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the RDAP website in accordance with Regulation 40(2A) of the Planning Development Regulations 2011. Item 2, apologies. We have an apology from Tanoa Hope, who's also made a declaration of interest and is not participating in the meeting. Item 3, members on leave of absence are Neil. Item 4, just noting the minutes for information that they are of previous meetings on the RDAP website. So we move to part B of the agenda, Shire of Augusta-Margaret River. Item 1 is declarations of due consideration. Members, are you able to make a declaration that duly considered information that's been provided in Part B and Part B related information, and also noting that there's been an R13 request for information which was published on the 2nd of July. Members are able to do that by simply raising your hand. Duly considered or duly declared, thank you. Item 2, disclosures of interest. As I said earlier, we do have one from Tanoa Hope, the Deputy Presiding Member. Members, are there any other disclosures of interest? Standing orders do require local government members to make a declaration if the matter before it has been to a council meeting. I don't know whether that's the case.
Meeting has been the case. Where do we go?
So, sorry, could you just pose that question again?
Standing by local government members to make a declaration if the matter we are considering has been to a council meeting.
Yes, sir.
But is this around items 29 and 30 or the whole of the matter?
The whole matter has gone to council.
That's correct. The whole matter has gone to council, yes.
Okay. So, councillors, you will need to make a declaration, and the declaration needs to recognise it has gone to council meeting, and also that you are able to act impartially in relation to the matter and not bound by the council decision.
Yeah, and I can do that.
So, Councillor Earl, you're confirming that that's the case?
I'm confirming that, yes.
Yeah, okay, and if you could provide a written declaration later on. Councillor Binks?
Yep, I can confirm that's the case.
Okay. So, can we know that's the case? All right, then we move to item 3, Form 1 capital applications. We have Neil. Item 4 is Form 2 applications. We have Neil. Item 5, section 31 SAT reconsiderations, and we do have one, and it's in relation to lot 11 and lot 12 Fern Avenue, Margaret River, proposed hotel and restaurant. We do have 4 presenters for this item. Standing orders provides for 3-minute presentations. I have agreed to an extension for Dane Gort for 5 minutes, and I'm also agreed to a extension for presentations by Mr. McQueen, also 5 minutes. Presenter Alessio Fiddle. In the sequence. There we go. Thank you.
All right. Can you hear me there? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone hear me?
Alessio, across all the presenters, you probably need to talk a bit louder than you ordinarily do. The microphone.
Thank you for having us today. In addition to acknowledging the Wajak people, we would also like to acknowledge the Wadambi people on whose land this proposed hotel development sits. My name is Alessio Finney, and I'm here to represent the company seeking to develop this place. My background is of an architect. I'm an architect by training, and with overseas and interstate experience over the last 15 to 20 years. I've worked for globally significant luxury brands, globally significant art institutions, and a myriad of award-winning community and sustainability projects. Most notably, recently, the lead designer for the Collingwood Arts Precinct, which has won numerous global awards for civic placemaking and sustainability, as well as being an operating member of the State Buildings, Alex Hotel, and Lawson Flats more recently. The Lawson Flats is a new project which has really kind of changed the face culturally of Perth, but is more notably, and I'm very proud of the fact, it's the first hospitality business that I know of in the state that has its own philanthropic fund that is member-based, that contributes, the members contribute to, which provides donations to First Nations youth projects, forestry projects, as well as carbon offset and arts projects. It's very much in the spirit of these projects that we wish to continue down in Margaret River. The project in Margaret River brings together my personal and family background to create a small project that has a big heart. I don't want to delve into the details because you've all seen the details a number of times, but we firmly believe as a family and as a group of panelists that Margaret River will be proud of this project, proud to have it in their town centre. This project is the first net positive project hotel in Australia. By that, we mean that it soaks up more carbon than it uses in development, and we also consider that it will do this in operation. And the way that we know that we can do that is because we are the developer and the operator of this project, and you won't find that in another team. It's very unique to develop and operate projects in hospitality and tourism, and to be completely frank, there isn't a lot of money in the operation of it. We do it because we love to leave lasting legacy and contribute positively to communities, which we have a number of projects that are marketable on a state level that we have developed and that we continue to look after. The project, interestingly and very sensitively, and maybe counter to commercial sense, is an adaptive reuse project. We are retaining these round earth dwellings rather than demolishing them to make a really charming little hotel that's harder to develop than it should be, but that is the first principle. Why demolish what is already good, what is already accommodation, to make space for something new? We're using the, and for this reason, we have significant parking restriction on site. We believe that the accommodation model as an equal show is able to easily achieve the parking demands of the site, but it should be noted that there are significant site constraints along with the trees and the topography and adaptive reuse. I would like to also add that we are finding Infinity Australia's most ambitious, maybe globally most ambitious ESD consultancy. I implore you to do some more research on them, and particularly their new normal project, which our project will be the first project in Western Australia to form part of. I'd also like to add here that the project, and I know that you've heard this before, but the project is, as it stands, a 37-room hotel, which any hotelier will tell you is close to being nonsensical, is marginal and feasible. Now the Finney family and the Finney group, I'll be completely frank, we do a lot of projects for love. There are a lot of projects that don't necessarily make a ton of money, but this one is very marginal. And we believe that it will be a big success because the demand will be there. We believe that Margaret River needs this and that the key drivers are in there, and we're taking on more risk than a typical feasibility will allow you to do because we believe in the dynamics that way. That's really all I have to say. I'd be really happy to take all your questions on the specifics of the design or the intent. But I'd now like to hand over to my colleague, Anita, who's going to talk about tourism.
Before you do that, Alicia, members, are there any specific questions you would like to put to Alicia before we move to the next presenter? There will be an opportunity to come back and ask questions of all the presenters, but if there's a pressing question, I'll allow it. If not, okay. Thank you.
So good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to address the panel today. My name is Anita Brown, and I'm a hotelier and a tourism consultant. Over the past 20 years, visitation to the southwest has grown significantly. I'm sure you all know that. The region is arguably the most marketable and recognisable region in the state. Yet we have had limited new accommodation product in the area over the past 2 decades. We by no means have the quality product that meets the expectation of today's global traveller. It is essential that we enable investment in new product that targets the emerging trends of the global travel. This is imperative for the growth of tourism, but not to mention the sustainability and growth of the Augusta-Margaret River Airport. The table in the next slide shows just how strong the demand for accommodation is, and that the lack of development in quality accommodation has resulted in a growth of the informal, unregulated short-stay market. In regards to trends, which I'll talk to you through this presentation, you don't need to look far to understand that sustainability is the future of global tourism. The push for a more sustainable solution is echoed in a recent 2023 Booking.com survey of 33,000 respondents. Approximately 76% of those want to travel sustainably over the next 12 months, and 36% of the UK market, which is a key market for Western Australia, said that they would plan their sightseeing so that they'll walk, bike, or take public transport. With carbon emission reduction being a focus of the hotel industry, there are some key trends. There's a lot of detail in the slide, which I won't talk to, on this slide and next, that outline that sustainable transportation. So in regards to Fern Avenue, it's by its very nature, Fern Avenue Hotel will be deliberate about which tourist segments it attracts. The hotel will install electric vehicle charging stations, encourage the use of public transportation, provide information on local transit options, provide secure bike storage, and also significant end-of-trip facilities. The very nature, the boutique nature of the hotel will meet the expectations of the conscious traveller. This is the one whose intention when travelling is to make a positive long-term impact on the environment. The conscious traveller uses public transport, ride shares, and shuttle services to get to and from a destination. And they ride a bike, walk, or join a group tour when in a destination. They're far more adventurous than new global travel. Upon detailed review of the proposal, in my expert opinion as a hotelier for many years, the shortfall in car parking bays based on the scheme requirements poses no operational issue for the hotel or the community. Further, this creates no negative impact on the guest experience, and it only rather contributes positively to the guest experience. The need for a one-to-one ratio of car parking spaces to hotel rooms varies, depending on several factors, including location, type of hotel, and the target market. While some hotels may aim for a 1-to-1 ratio, it is not a universal requirement or standard, and only local government regulations stipulate in this space. Maximum parking demand in most hotels is created not by the rooms, but by the conferencing, banqueting or meeting spaces that a property provides. In the case of Fern Avenue, with 37 guest rooms, a hotel, restaurant and bar, a hotel such as this is categorised as a boutique hotel and requires far less parking than a full-service hotel. So in summary, the global trends, the accommodation type and the nature of the target market is what I'm talking about. These are essential factors that have substantially reduced the requirement for the hotel to provide a 1-to-1 car bay to guest room ratio. I believe this proposal presents a huge opportunity to enable a project of significance to be delivered by a WA developer with a proven track record in producing or delivering high quality assets. The pathway to net positive hospitality needs to be seen as an immense opportunity for the region. The Southwest cannot risk losing its competitiveness in this global tourism market due to old and ageing accommodation. I encourage you not to shy away from pursuing this opportunity. We have an opportunity to achieve a net positive impact for our environment and assist in positioning the Southwest as a leader in this space. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take questions at the end or along.
Thank you, Lee. Is any pressing questions? I do have one of them. It was about current, you talk about sort of trends around the world. In terms of current movements to the Southwest, have you got an idea of the percentage in states and overseas as compared to, say, more domestic?
Yes,
focus?
certainly, Tony. Look, I think the Southwest echoes the state in respect of its recovery since COVID. The intrastate market was booming during COVID, we know that. And the domestic market has come back fairly strong. It's almost achieved its pre-COVID levels. International market, not yet, but is getting there. So we're at about the 70% mark of achieving the pre-COVID market mix.
Okay. So 70% domestic, 30% requiring international overseas.
Apologies, let me clarify that. 70% of the international market that was existing pre-COVID has come back. So we haven't reached our 100%. We haven't captured it.
So the breakup between domestic and international, what would be?
Yeah, it's very regionally based. I'd have to go back to some data around that. Can we take that on? Yes.
Yeah, look, it's and a related question, sort of anecdotally, as a traveller, and I'm sure most of us in the room are, to the Southwest, it does seem that the primary way of getting down there is a private vehicle.
I think, yes, look, I don't disagree that vehicles are still certainly a preferable option. What we're seeing, however, is a huge shift in how people travel in terms of group travel, carpooling, ride sharing. So what we're seeing, and I think anyone with experience in the space will see groups of friends traveling down, and there might be 4 friends traveling in a car, but they stay in 4 groups. This is a huge shift, and it's the conscious travel. It's solely to do with the shift in people's personal awareness of their own footprint.
Okay, thank you. There's no other questions. Over to you, Dave. Well, you've got the luxury of 5 minutes.
Okay. So I'll just touch briefly over the planning framework. Thank you to the Shire for showing the compliance of the proposal to the planning framework from the design and design use perspective. As we know from the approval the first time around, is a very compliant proposal and achieve design excellence for design review. I just want to touch on this slide very briefly. It does go to the car parking question that I'll discuss a bit further down. But as I've said before, the under provision of car parking against the scheme standards would usually be a symptom of overdevelopment. And as we've heard from Alessio, the site and the design around it has been very responsive to the site constraints. and we're only occupying essentially half the site. So in this case, it is thoughtful design and adherence to the vision, which is keeping those dwellings and retaining as much vegetation as possible that has driven the constraint of area available for car parking, as well as the operations, which again we've heard reflects the trends in hotel visitation. Briefly recapping, and again, thank you very much to the Shire for their detail on these elements. So under the generic standings under the scheme, we're looking at the 17-day shortfall, which doesn't reflect different types of hotels. And then on the right-hand side, I've just put a couple of examples of different types of hotels in regional areas. I do note that the RAR did examine, I think it might have been the Premier Hotel, and made the point that perhaps using as much of a tourist centre as Margaret River. I guess the counter to that is that it also doesn't have the same array of transportation operations as Margaret River in terms of access to an airport, public transportation, and tour groups to help cater for the overall transport demand. And this slide is what I want to touch on the most. So we know that there's discretion under the planning scheme to depart from the standards. And we also know that the matters to be considered in that instance are detailed under Regulation 67 of the deemed provisions, which the Shire has covered one element of, being the adequate provision of car parking. But I would like to, I guess, remind the panel of the aims of the scheme, which are very pertinent in this case, particularly in consideration of what LSCO and ANEP have said. So the first one is around tourism and the fostering of a diverse tourism industry, which is currently not in existence in the region. It's largely homogenous, with some old, tired resort-style stock, and then a largely informal short-stay industry. There are some emerging kind of boutique places, and that should be something that is encouraged to help foster that diversity. So our proposal is very much aligned with that. The next one almost goes without saying, sustainable land use and development. That's the whole ethos of the whole proposal and its operations. And I'm quite comfortable that we are meeting that aim of the scheme. And probably the most important, in my view, particularly to the question of car parking, is to reduce the amount of fossil fuels and reduce the reliance on motor vehicles. I think any kind of first year planning student would probably tell you that providing more parking will generally incentivise the maintenance of private vehicle usage rather than reduction. And so not only do we think providing parking is not going to have an impact on demand, because the hotel will meet its demand based on its market target market and the transportation options available, but it also doesn't make much logical sense, and would in fact be inconsistent with the aim of the scheme if we were to provide additional parking beyond what is required for operations. So I really encourage the panel members to consider the aims of the scheme and the high level of consistency our proposal has with these aims, and use that as a basis to support the discretion in varying the generic car parking requirements in this case. And I'll just touch on this very, very briefly. We did touch on it the last time around, but on the off chance that there is going to be beyond peak demand for the hotel, we have done the parking utilisation study demonstrating there is sufficient parking stock within the town centre, within walking distance of the hotel, to cater for that unusual occurrence where it may exceed the parking on, where demand may exceed parking on site. It is also worth pointing out that hotel operations and parking demand are generally counter-cyclical to the rest of the town centre. The peak demand for a hotel generally occurs overnight, and that's certainly what Alessia and the team would want, because the whole purpose of this hotel is to deliver people to the experiences available in the region This is not a hotel designed for people to round about all day and spend time at the hotel during the day. It's a hotel for more or less provided a bed to lay your head and some amenities around that, but really encouraging people to get out and about. So the parking demand for this hotel will certainly be consistent with that counter-cyclical demand. And that, I think, is all I have to say on the planning matters. I'll hand over to Paul with this and questions.
Members, any questions of Dane at this time? If not, Mr. McQueen.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Inviting Member, members of the panel. The panel modern room are able to see me and I proceed on the basis they do. There's a letter from my instructor's ladder dated the 2nd of July, signed by me, and I would adopt the content of that letter and proceed on the basis of it. There's probably 4 or 5 key things. First is a historical and contextual. And as introduced by the presiding member, this is a Section 31 reconsideration. And I make that point deliberately because under Regulation 18.2 of the DAP, so I've set this out better, this is not an moment for reconsideration of the land or the approval or the appropriateness of this development site. That decision has already been. The decision today, with great respect, is confined narrowly and legally to a single issue, and it concerns conditions 29 and 30. As set out in my letter, once again respect, but importantly, there are one of 3 choices for you to make. The first, in light of the arguments put by my colleagues, is to delete conditions 29 and 30. That would be a courageous yet appropriate decision under the circumstances. And I note from the response to the Regulation 13 requests that it appears to be conceded by the Shire, respectfully correctly so, that condition 29 would be impossible by the force because it isn't supported at ministerial level in terms of requests. So let's put a line through 29. That leaves us with 30. 30 talks about arrangements for cash and lieu. Once again, from my view, the argument is set out in the letter, there is no proper basis to impose a condition, the content of which is not understood at the time of imposition. What do I mean by that? A condition such as entering into satisfactory arrangements with the Shire to provide for cash and lieu, although contemplated by the scheme, once again, without any criticism of the local authority, the RAR demonstrates, as does the R13 response, there is no policy. There is no plan for the construction of these bays. So simply requiring us to enter into arrangements would result in an outcome of this hotel not being built because we cannot comply with that. And neither is it necessary. So the question for the panel is, do you accept the argument and have the codes, which I encourage you to do, to delete these conditions because they're not necessary? If you are against us on that argument, then there is a third option. And that third option is to impose a new form of condition, which would require a fixed sum paid to the Shire, which would then be imposed for the trust to be used for the creation of additional car park. We also know from the RAR and the Form 13 responses that that may never happen. And that, once again, is without any criticism. So that is why in the letter I have suggested, if you are going to adopt that default position, then it should be with a time limitation after which the money comes back to development. Now, the Shire's usual approach, most local governments' usual approach would be to say, we need to cover the cost of the land, we need to cover the cost of the construction. Well, that doesn't work because the project is marginal. If we want to deliver the first net positive carbon hotel in Australia, the way to do it is to embrace both the Regulation 13 responses. The original position of the Shire, which was not to seek to have these car parking conditions imposed and to believe in the integrity and the credibility of the 4 people sitting here and all of those people that stand behind. So for all of those reasons, subject to any questions, I urge to show courage and to enable this local government, one of the best and most attractive tourism locations in the state, to be a vanguard and deliver an outcome that no one else has done. So subject to any questions, as I've said, thank you for the opportunity, and I hope
before I go to questions, I'd just like to make a clarification. Mr. McQueen, I don't think the integrity or professionalism of any of the applicants is a question. And as is often happens with these sort of, we may or may not agree, but that doesn't cast any light on professionalism or otherwise. So I just want to make that clear.
I'm grateful. I wasn't suggesting.
No, I know you weren't. I just wanted to make it clear, given that these things are now live streamed. So members, we will go to questions, and as I said earlier, opportunity for questions to any of the presenters.
No questions.
Councillor Binks.
I have.
Councillor Binks, it's not working. We have a fantastic echo.
You just use my mic.
No.
Make sure that all the speakers off. I've done that.
Councillor Binks, it's been suggested maybe the other speakers in the room, speakers in the room have been turned on, and that's generating an echo because we can't discern what you're saying at all.
That one.
Matt, you might need to get that technician back. No, it just, we can't make any sense of what you're saying, which is obviously not very good.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. Councillor Binks, we can't hear you now.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave this. Great.
We've just removed Councillor Binks. You were in the Zoom at the same time, so that was causing the echo. So we've just removed you. So just try your microphone again.
This one, you know, stick with this one.
Yep, we can hear you. Hear us?
Right. How's that? Can you hear it? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can? Can we hear them? We'll need to use the sound from the television. Yep. Okay.
We're back on it.
I have to say, Chair, that some of these technical issues make it very hard to concentrate on what we're doing in these situations. Now, can you just confirm, Chair, that you can hear me, please? Thank you very much. Regarding the last presenter, I have no questions. Just one question I have is what the proponent understands to be the public transport that is available in Margaret River. Can somebody respond to that?
Margaret River, can you confirm that you can hear us in the room? Great.
The public transport I was referring to is the Trans WA service that provides a link from Augusta through the Margaret River to Dunsborough and to Busselton in a circle route, I believe, with various stops along the way.
Whereof?
Is that clear, Councillor Binks?
Yes. Is that the only public transport that you're aware of?
That's the only state-run public transport. There is also the beach shuttle that was trialled last year, and the possibility of that continuing, as well as taxi services, which have increased substantially in the river from the previously low number of operators. And at the same time, there is future prospect of expansion of the river to Margaret River. As you may be aware, the river has moved into Busselton and run several services through there and is available in Dunsborough as well.
Sorry, Dane, I didn't hear that last point.
Uber. So Uber has started up in Busselton. It's available through Busselton and Dunsborough, and there is the prospect of that expanding down to Margaret River. From what I understand, they do make trips down to Margaret River, but don't have the current functionality to have a pickup service at Margaret River.
Thanks, Dane.
And then there's the other private tour operators and private transport options that we've. Many of them have also increased. You may be aware of McLeod's tours, who are family friend of mine. They have significantly increased their operations, particularly in the last couple of years after the main kind of brunt of COVID has subsided.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dane.
Councillor Binks, Councillor Earl, any other questions to the presenters?
No, thanks.
No. Did you have any questions? Nima?
No, she's meeting.
No? Okay, thank you. Okay, well, I'll lead off with a few questions I have. Mr. McQueen, obviously the issue, the primary issue is car park. And I accept your earlier comment about what the purpose of this meeting is. The town planning scheme is a primary planning document for the Shire, and it does set out planning scheme requirements. So we should have some high regard to that based on other decisions that this panel has made and other decision-making authorities. It is the primary planning document for a local government planning scheme. In this case, the panel's being asked to put to one side the requirement of the scheme, which is quite clear about what the current car parking should be for a hotel. Your response to that?
With respect, no. I can say I agree that the planning scheme is a primary instrument, which you are legally obliged to have regard. Except that. Starting point then is to look at the standards and requirements in terms of the scheme that is proposed. And we accept that it's the standard, the starting point, not the end point, is one bay per room. The scheme then provides discretion to relax that standard for the requirement in appropriate circumstances and having regard to the objectives, purposes. We're inviting you not to ignore the scheme, but to embrace the opportunity to relax the standard which the scheme allows. Now, as a senior lawyer in the state, if there was no discretion, I would not advance an argument. I'd say you're bound. The client is bound by the start law. But because of the exercise of discretion, you can do it, and you're still in accordance with the scheme. And the aims of the scheme, including 1.612, which was then put into, specifically deal with things such as sustainability and transportation and reducing carbon and taking a different approach as part of the consideration. So it's entirely consistent with your duty under the scheme to exercise discretion if you consider what we have said to be valid in this one. I'm not asking you to do anything which is legally beyond power, and I never will.
No, I recognise as the deemed provisions to provide a decision maker with that discretion
Yes.
in the event that there is sufficient reason for that applying discretion. The other question related to a statement you made in your letter, and that applying cash in lieu would be contrary to orderly and proper planning principles. And I'd like you to elaborate on why you think that is the case.
Well, it's a combination of what I said in the letter in response to the R13. Scheme contemplates the possibility of actually, so I accept. But there needs to be an orderly and appropriate basis for the imposition of the obligation system that test to be reviewed. What we say is, and the Shire has indicated this, if you impose it's working, because the Shire has said we have no strategy, have no policy. There's no ability to create extra bays in the precinct. And the Shire correctly acknowledges the money has to be used for that purpose. So there's a real risk here that by imposing the standard condition, the development fails and the Shire doesn't have an appropriate use for the money anyway. Now, if we didn't have the argument that the shortfall doesn't create a problem, then I would accept that would be an inappropriate exercise of discretion. We'd have to fix it. But our argument is you don't need those extra bays, so there's no legitimate purpose to serve in imposing the condition because it's not necessary. And in any event, if you did impose it, you don't need to look further than the R13 to say that solution isn't dealt with through a cash in. So it's a traditional yet inappropriate tool in this context, unless any of my colleagues disagree.
Can I ask a further related question? I don't think you suggested that the fact that the council hasn't got a plan or strategy prevents the use of cash in lieu or imposition.
It does.
This is a comment. It might actually facilitate some further investigation, because you may recall when the panel approved this application, there were a number of submitters that raised issues to the car park. And the concern about the lack of car parking and that this development potentially would exacerbate concerns around that issue. So that's why I asked the question about orderly and proper planning, because in my mind, the provision of cash in lieu in a town planning scheme is about providing for that orderly provision of car park.
Why I say it's inappropriate in this instance, because as the cash in lieu mechanism in the scheme is a one-size-fits-all. It's a blunt instrument. So it may work for certain types of hotels at this particular design, but it doesn't work, nor is it required here. 2 reasons. The type of market, as you've heard from me, is a different market. the type of person that's coming to the circle is a different type of traveller. The demand isn't there for the base, and the peak demand is at night. I'm a Margaret River ratepayer. I own property there. I spend time there. And I was just commenting on the weekend, after 6 o'clock at night, my very inaccurate cricket arm probably was struggling to get anything in the street. So we're going to be experiencing our peak demand at a time when the parking demand isn't there in the immediate area. So when you evaluate the concerns of the people that were speaking against us in this particular situation, and as you and the panel members know, it has to be a site-specific, a project-specific analysis, not a generic approach. The scheme cash and revenue method is a generic tool which doesn't fit this situation.
Okay. In the 3 options you suggest are available to this panel, you do talk about changing the panel could modify the conditions, and you suggested be more specific. Now, you would be aware that often decision makers impose a condition, and for example, upgrading of a road, and in that case, it is to the satisfaction of the local government. There is not prescribed monetary amount, and it is a matter that's resolved together. Now, so there's no requirement to be that prescriptive in conditions. And in fact, it would be unusual for decision makers to be so prescriptive.
As you would expect of me, as an officer of the court, will answer based on my knowledge and experience, whether it harms me or benefits. You're absolutely right. And I'm seeing many instances where conditions to the satisfaction of the Shire set them. But that doesn't mean we're bound to. And you do have the power to come up with a specific thing. And what we're suggesting is that these unique circumstances, if you don't accept our primary argument, I think everyone, and we'll come to the Shire officers as I speak later, it's clear that everyone, in terms of the R13, except with condition 29 doesn't do it. So we're talking about condition 30. You could impose a specific obligation on it now. Because the fear I have, as I said in my oral deputation, if you impose the standard condition, which works a lot of the time, arrangements being into the Shire with a fee, otherwise the contribution actually that just doesn't work here because they don't have, and I said without criticism, the strategy or the plan. How do they negotiate that? There's no framework to do it. And if we took the traditional approach, Mr. Finney would say that this project is never going to get off the ground. We can't afford to pay for land value and construction of multiple ways. So the only way it would work is if you said you give them a modest amount. I'm just going to pick it 25, 30,000, they cash in lieu, and then it comes back to us if they don't use it. Bear in mind, we're up and running. And you might make that 3 years, 4 years. We're confident there's not going to be a problem. The Shire might say it's no problem, we need the money. So that's why I'm pressing hard against what I accept is a legitimate mutual problem.
Okay. And I don't presume you have provided an alternative weapon condition.
I did discuss it with our team, and Mr. Finney reminded me of how narrow the funds are, but I would have thought I can create it now, but it would be something to the effect that the applicant pay to the Shire of Augusta-Margaret about cash in amount of X dollars to be used for car parking, and if not used within X years, refund it to the applicant. I hope my clerk has got the wording there which we can speak. New car parking.
Okay, that's fine. I was just curious whether you actually prepared something.
I had to do it on my feet as a bit of a judge.
No judge. Members, any other questions of the panel?
Yeah, yes, I do. Thanks, Chair. To Mr. McQueen. So you mentioned a figure just a moment ago of $25,000. Was that per car parking bay that you as your shortfall, or a total?
Sorry if I was unclear. I just came up with a number, but that would, and I know it's a very modest number, but that would be the total amount, not an amount per bay. Because we don't have $100,000 or $200,000 to spend on car parking. That's just the economic reality of this project because of its net positive approach.
Other questions? No? If not, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
So we now move to the Shire offices. Matt Cuthbert, did you want to make any overall comments about the application, or are you happy to respond to questions?
Happy to respond to questions. I mean, our attitude towards the development can simply be put as we like it, we support it, it's a fantastic development. We support its green credentials, if you like, but we are of the view that it is well short in car parking, and that's going to have negative off-site consequences.
Okay, thank you. Members, questions of the Shire officers? Councillor Binks.
Thank you. I have a question regarding the definition of reasonable proximity. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, sure. You know what I mean. There's nothing that I can point to in terms of what that means in terms of the scheme. But what I would interpret that it means is in proximity to the development, to the extent that it would be reasonable to think that someone who was wanting to stay at the hotel would be comfortable to park in and then, you know, walk or get to the hotel by some other means.
So walking distance.
Walking distance. Yeah.
Thank you.
Members? Matthew, I have a question. Oh, sorry, Nima?
Yes, I have a question to the Shire officers. You have clearly stated that if there was any cash in lieu, you know, provided there was a condition imposed, a cash in lieu, you really have no policy or guidelines in terms of its utilisation. You know, is that very clear? So that money could be just sitting there and you could not use it for any other purpose?
Yeah, that's right. So there's no site, there's no land that I could point the panel to say, if we had cash on hand, this is where we would purchase the land for the parking and this is where we would build it. We just don't have a plan in place to do that at this time.
Okay, and following on to that, even if there were, for instance, an example, a car parking strategy you were to develop or anything else, you could not use that money for that. It is specifically would be to use it for constructing car parking bays in the proximity of that development. I just want to get that clarification.
We're just referring ourselves to the scheme now, so we'll perhaps read out what the scheme says in that regard. But just while we're doing that, I do note that the guidance for local governments that the Planning Commission has prepared does suggest that the scope for use of cash in lieu money should, in the future, as schemes, you know, are reviewed and changed, look perhaps more broadly than just where can we build some car parking, and even to the point of considering the provision of, you know, footpaths and other things that provide for other modes of transport. But we'll just read out for you what the scheme says in relation to our situation here.
Yeah, so the part of the scheme that deals with cash in lieu for parking, it's quite explicit. It's paid into a fund and used for provision of public car parking facilities within reasonable proximity to the site, which stated before.
Okay, thank you very much.
Matthew, on the same issue, has the council currently got cash in lieu funds?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It does.
Okay. So given it does have cash in lieu funds, isn't there some sort of obligation to work towards some sort of plan?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's an obligation, but it's a project that we have earmarked for this financial year that we've just ticked over into the last couple of days.
So when you say a project, something specific, a site specific?
It's a planned project for our team to complete this financial year.
Okay. So clearly from the advice being provided, the Shire officers don't think cash in lieu funds are a good idea given the tight constraints in terms of land, but it does provide that opportunity to both prepare a plan and to utilise funds.
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah. And just a question I put to Mr. McQueen about orderly and proper planning. Basis of cash in lieu funds is to actually provide for that where there is traffic difficulties, and you would know the area much better than I, but it would seem that there is some difficulty with parking at times.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, if you were going to rely on the idea that people staying at the hotel were going to get back late and leave early, I mean, that very well might be the case some of the time. It might be the case all of the time, but it's a kind of to rely simply on that in terms of saying that there's sufficient car parking it's not a very certain outcome that you'd be relying on there.
Yeah. Members, any other questions of the Shire officers? No? Okay, well, thank you for your comments. Before we move to the item, members, we have received some confidential advice, and I wonder whether you would like to give that some consideration. And if someone's prepared to move a motion to do that. Councillor Binks, are you prepared to move a procedural motion to consider that confidential advice? Is that what you were suggesting?
You're on mute.
Okay.
Just need to unmute yourself.
Councillor Binks?
Yes, I'm happy to move a motion that we consider the confidential advice.
And that'll be behind closed doors. Neva, were you going to second that? Yep. Okay, because it's a procedural motion, there's no debate on that. I'm just going to put that, all those in favour. That's unanimous. It's only about probably 2 minutes.
And we're not, oh no, we're on.
Nima and the councillors, it's Ashley at the DAP Secretariat. I'm just going to give you both a call on your mobiles. I just need you to mute and turn your cameras off for this Zoom purposes. As we're live streaming, we can't stop the video. So I will give you a call on your mobile.
How's that?
Thank you.
I thought I should have been able to do that. They should have stopped doing it.
Councillors, can you please mute your microphone?
can't get out. Good Chair. You no longer have privileges.
I'm no longer privileged. Got to make a phone call to get the voice.
Hang on, here he comes. Right, thanks, guys. Far out.
Far out.
Yeah.
The sign.
Great.
Okay, welcome back everyone, and we will resume the meeting at 2:21. So we now move to the RAR recommendation, and consistent with standing orders, is someone prepared to move the RAR recommendation, which is to refuse the application? In which case, the motion lapses. Okay, is someone prepared to move an alternative recommendation? Councillor Earl?
Yes.
Now, the alternative recommendation, we do have one in the agenda papers. You're looking to move something a bit different?
Sorry, yes, yeah, I'll move the recommendation with.
Maybe we can share the screen too.
Yeah. So they're going to provide wording for the alternate. There it is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
With
Councillor Earl, you can see that. Councillor Vinks and Nima, you can see that?
yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay. So move Councillor Earl. Nima, were you seconding that motion?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Earl, did you want to talk to the motion?
No, look, not at this stage. I think I will do foreshadow that I would like to impose another condition into the consideration once this is through.
Okay, thank you. Nima?
I completely support that the conditions 29 and 30 be deleted, and therefore support what has been presented here in front.
Thank you. Is anyone opposed to that motion?
Tony, I do have one question, please, Chair, a matter of procedure, if that's permissible.
Yes, Councillor Vinks?
Once this alternate motion has been resolved, are we then able to apply another condition, or do we need to do that as an amendment to this motion?
We will need to do it as an amendment. So if you are foreshadowing any new conditions, bearing in mind that current resolution seeks to delete 29 and 30. So you can foreshadow a change to conditions.
Okay, that's what. Yeah. I think Councillor Earl was going to see this dealt with and then move to have a new condition 29 applied.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier.
And that's permissible.
Yeah, Councillor Earl, you've foreshadowed that. Before we do that, just want to see whether there's any other speakers in terms of that substantive motion.
Oh, I'm fine, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Look, I will speak to the motion. it is my view that the panel previously considered this application and supported the development, albeit with conditions. It was considered an appropriate use, and I don't think any of that has changed. I also accept the view that what the panel is considering today is a review of conditions 29 and 30. I'm not sure I completely agree with, and I say this with some reluctance, with Mr. McQueen's comment that there is no other option to the panel. I think in exceptional circumstances, the panel could review. Having said that, I don't believe there's exceptional circumstances, and I think the right outcome is to continue forward with the approval. I do accept, given the difficulties outlined in relation to condition 29, that it is probably appropriate to delete it because it does sound like it would be difficult to achieve. In relation to condition 30, I think Councillor Earl suggested potential rewording, and I am open to that because I think there needs to be some recognition of the need for car parking, additional car parking. I accept the applicant's view about changing trends. Unfortunately, I don't know that there is any way to condition that in some way. So limiting factor. So, Councillor Earl, you foreshadowed a potential change or a condition.
So the change to 30, I just need to see what the, hang on. Is it what we had before, is this the new one?
This is what we had before.
Sorry, apologies, Chair, but my amendment is still around having some sort of cash in lieu payment being made to for the shortfall in the car parking. I'm just a little bit unsure on what we should put in there. That's all.
Okay.
Do we have any perhaps advice from your secretariat?
Councillor.
This is the
Okay. Councillor Earl, the previous condition read as follows: prior to the occupation of the development, the applicant entering into a legal agreement for provision of cash in lieu of car parking in accordance with clause 587 of the Shire Town Planning Scheme to the satisfaction of the Shire. Putting aside the merits of that condition, one of the problems that was raised before was that condition was not specific. It didn't actually identify what the shortfall was. And I think you made a comment earlier that you wanted to identify the number of bays that were shortfall.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, all right. So perhaps you might want to consider this. Prior to the occupation of the development, the applicant entering into a legal agreement for the provision of cash in lieu car park payment for 17 bays. Is that the figure which is a shortfall figure?
I'll be comfortable with that.
In accordance with clause 587 of the Shire Town Planning Scheme number 1 to the satisfaction of the Shire. So, Councillor Earl, that's your motion for a new condition?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Okay. Is Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Dix? Councillor Earl, did you want to talk to that motion?
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I do. There's great support for this hotel in Margaret River, and it's certainly, as the proponents have alluded to, that this is very much needed down here. It's been some time since we've had new developments that will, allow people what they want when they come down there. Right at the moment, probably that we're somewhat limited, so I really am in strong support of it. But we've also had some concerns out of our business community about the lack of car parking at this place. So I would and the effects that it may well have on other businesses around town. So I'm thinking we need to work both ways on this, and we need to work that we can get this up, but we also need to support our business community and what their wishes and concerns are. Just one other comment I'd like to make, and that, I guess that's regarding the which was condition 29, which we've now knocked out. I'm not, the fact is around Margaret River we have car parks on a lot of government land which is vested in the council. So I'm not sure what happened back there with the DPLH and others. So, but I support this new condition. Thank you.
Councillor Binks, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I hear and understand all of the proponents' arguments. I completely disagree with their suggestion that public transport is a satisfactory alternative, and even with the thought that some things may develop in the future. I think there's, we talk about needing specifics. Well, there's nothing terribly specific about that. There is a lot of pressure on parking in this particular part of the town. The arguments that I've also heard from other developers and members of the business community is, well, why is it that this particular development doesn't have to abide by the town planning scheme when we do? So I think for us to be consistent in our decision making, we need to be applying the same rules, basically, that through the town planning scheme, that cash in lieu that's an important part of how we provide for our community and our visitors to this community. I think the most appropriate framework for that is by specifying the number of bays in the shortfall, so that there's, I apologise, so that there is no confusion and it's clear what expectations are. Whatever happened with the previous condition 29, that's water under the bridge, but we do need to provide for a cash in lieu and for our staff to be able to develop a solid parking strategy and continue with the projects that they're continuing to provide for parking within reasonable access, or reasonable proximity. So I think this is a good resolution, good solution to it. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Is anyone opposed to the motion? Nima?
Yes, I oppose this particular proposed amendment, mainly because I cannot see with the information that has been provided and with the comments that's just been made by the Shire officers that they do not have a location that is easily accessible, this development, to provide parking. I mean, that's been clear. There's been no doubt in the officer's report. So for me, from my point of view, in my opinion, imposing such a condition would only drag this and probably end up in SAT again. I cannot see, given all the parties have clearly indicated, especially the Shire, who will be given the responsibility of managing these funds. So I do not see the outcome that they're hoping to achieve by getting in cash in lieu. So therefore, I do not support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Nima. I will be supporting the motion. I do it with some difficulty. I accept the advice of the proponent that trends are changing, and I think that is a legitimate bit of advice. Having said that, there are two things that panels struggle with continuously. One is bushfire management, and the other is car parking. Seems to be the most consistent and issue that is most variable. In this case, we've got a scheme that is quite clear about the requirements. Having said that, there are other objectives in the scheme that provide, I think, some latitude. The panel through the RAR is already exercising some discretion, and the discretion through reciprocal rights of adjoining land users is, I think, generous at 80%. Likewise, the transport plan applies the maximum. So it's not as if some discretion isn't being applied, and that discretion applies 12 days. I did grapple with this whole notion about cash in lieu, and I think I understand what Member Pringy is saying about the difficulty perhaps about providing car parking, but in any town centre that is the case, and the whole purpose of cash in lieu is to provide for proper and orderly planning, and it's incumbent on the Shire, once it's received funds, to actually go about finding what might be difficult sites or alternative. And I think it was Councillor Earl that indicated that throughout the Margaret Town Centre, there's a history of using Crown Reserve. So I'm not quite sure what the difficulty is with the adjoining land, but having said that, so as I said, I grappled with this notion, but I did fall on the side that I think consistent with the scheme and consistent with orderly, proper planning, I will support the motion. Councillor Earl, you closing comments?
Just a quick right of reply, if I may. Just to look straight across the road from this hotel is the land which is where Coles has got their car park, and a fair lump of that is actually is reserve land, and there may well in all of this be an opportunity to upgrade and improve bays there to get more bays in. I'm not sure. That's another one of the dark sciences trying to work out car park, a bit like bushfire stuff. So, but there is there could well be an opportunity straight across the road to at least get a few extras with perhaps some of the money that could be forthcoming. That's good. But again, I support this, but I really do support the this whole hotel, and certainly look forward to it being operational as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Councillor, you've closed the debate on that. I'm going to put that. All those in favour? Opposed? Motion's carried. Members, were there any other conditions that were proposed? If not, I'll go back to the substantive motion, which is to reconsider, noting that we've added a new condition, which is, I think, now condition 29. All those in favour? Yep. All those in favour? Just give up the hands again.
Sorry, which one are we actually voting for?
We're going on the substantive motion, Nima.
Okay, which was on the screen?
Yes, it was on the screen.
Okay, for that one I vote yes.
Okay, so that's unanimous. Having said that, Nima, you're aware we've added a new condition.
So hang on, this is where I'm getting confused. Are we, to that motion, you're also adding a new condition?
Yes, it is adding a new condition.
Oh, then I'm totally against that. Sorry.
So,
a bit of confusion there. No.
Favour 3. Opposed, Nima? The motion is carried. Thank you. So we move through the balance of the agenda. part B, item 1, SAT applications as approved for appeals are listed on the agenda. Item 2, general business. Members, any general business? If not, everyone, and I will declare the meeting closed at 2:40.
Thank you.
Thank you.